right. Hey, welcome to Fitzdog Radio. It's an exciting summer day. I'm recording this a little bit early because I'm heading off for Vermont. Got a friend who's got a house in the woods with a pond, an apple orchard. So we're going to go up there, me and the wife. It's kind of our 25th anniversary this month. And so this is kind of our celebration of it. I'm married to just the most wonderful. I hate to be the guy. Some people don't trust the guy that says he loves his wife after all these years. But she is truly amazing. She is the most balanced, grounded, egoless, funny. I feel like we're still dating after 25 years. That's all I'm going to say. Because some of you were divorced. Some of you were in bad marriages. I'm sorry. I got lucky as shit. The day I met her, I knew I'd marry her, and I am just, what can I say? I've never taken it for granted. I feel like, we grow. Whatever. I'm not going to, shut the fuck up, Greg. Jesus. It's also my daughter's 21st birthday this week, so happy birthday to JoJo. Very cool chick. She's the kind of girl that, or should I say woman now? She's a woman who attracts people to her. People want to be around her. They want to be her friend. She's just like, she had a crazy teen years. She was a wild teenager. And it was tough. It was like, I went to therapy. This chick sent me to therapy. Dealing with, because everybody talks about, if you're over 40 and you go to therapy and you talk about your parents, just fucking wrap it up. You're not allowed to talk about the parents at this point. But kids, absolutely. You got to transfer what's fucking up your life. Thank God it was a phase that she's come out of, but from the time she was little, she was obstinate. I remember when she was probably about 6, 7. We went to this pool, and family were there, friends were there, and the sun was going down. It started getting cold. I was like out of the pool. She was the last one in the pool. She like is a water junkie. She's been a surfer her whole life. You couldn't get her out of water. And so I said, okay, JoJo, time to wrap it up. And she just looks at me and she swims towards the middle of the pool. And I'm like, JoJo, we're going now. Let's do it. And I don't want to jump in the pool and get her out because I had methodically dried my bathing suit. Lied on the front, the back, the sides. Bathing suit's dry. We got to walk to the car. It's getting chilly out. JoJo, come on. And now everybody's watching. Everybody's like, oh, look at this poor asshole. He has no control over his own child. What a bad parent. So now I'm doing all the mistakes. Okay, JoJo, if you get out now, we'll go get ice cream on the way home. Oh, he's trying to treat her. He's doing the treat. That's a rookie move. JoJo, if you don't get out of the pool, no TV for the... Oh, now he's threatening. Nothing's working. Nothing's working. So finally, I'm just like, all right, we got to get the fuck out of here. I jump in the pool. It's freezing. I grab her. I pull her out, and she reaches for the towel, and I grab the towel. I go, I don't think so. So now we walk about a block to get to the car, and it's chilly, and she's wet. And I'm a fucked up parent for doing this, but I did it. And I let her walk to the car, wet and cold. And I felt bad about it, but also it's like, what, this kid. So we get to the car. I open up the back door, and she gets in, and then I hand her the towel, and she takes her hand, and she pushes it back at me and doesn't take the towel. And I thought, this is a badass bitch. And I have some rough teen years ahead of me. It was like Apocalypse Now when they were they were giving penicillin shots to the villagers. So the heads of the village started chopping their arms off, the people that got the shots. And he just, and Marlon Brando goes, the horror. That's how I felt at that moment. The horror. So anyway, happy birthday, JoJo. She's now helping out with my podcast. She works at the studio and learning a lot about technology. She's teaching kids to swim this summer and babysitting. And she's been taking classes to become a preschool teacher. We'll see where that's going. Who knows? She can do anything she wants. She's so fucking smart and funny. Anyway, happy birthday. I'm going to keep this short because my guest is so amazing today, Harland Williams. Very excited to announce my podcast, my stand-up special is being moved back a couple weeks. We had some editing glitches. It will now be coming out on August 22nd. So there'll be a live YouTube stream leading up to the release of the special, and then there's going to be a party in New York on the 25th. August 26th, I'll go on Kill Tony. The 27th, I will go on Rogan. I think I'm on Marin that week, and then I'll go to New York and do a bunch of those guys, Sam and Mark and Ari and all those guys. Get the word out. Tell your friends. It'll be streaming on YouTube. I'm very excited. This is the way to put it out now. There's a 2-year wait. If you show Netflix your special now, there's a 2-year wait to get it on the air. So I was like, fuck that. I want people to see this. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to put the material behind me. It's called You Know Me on YouTube on the 22nd. So, all right, let's get to my guest, who is a guy, you know him from Dumb and Dumber. You know him from Half-Baked, Rocket Man. There's Something About Mary, Freddie Got Fingered, a million movies, TV shows. He was a regular on Letterman, Tonight Show, Conan. Everybody loved him. He was a big talk show staple. One of the best stand-ups in the country. He has his own way of doing it that I am in awe of every time I watch him. He is one of the most creative minds, and you'll see it on this podcast. He's just quick. He's uninhibited. He's silly, and I love him. Here is my guest, Harland Williams. Well, I'm sitting here with my accountant today, Harland Williams.
Accountant? Now I'm doing your taxes and stuff?
Well, there's not a lot to write off. I mean, my income is, it's okay.
So what am I looking time-wise, like commitment to do your taxes? Like a half hour, 40 minutes?
Yeah, on Tuesdays.
I can do that.
You can do that, right?
I'm in.
Were you good in school in math?
Great.
Really?
Ask me any math equation.
What is the first 5 digits of pi?
Raspberry, strawberry.
No, that's not it. It's a number.
You said pi, right?
I said pi, P-I.
Okay. Pastry, pie plate. What are we going? What are we? I'm the accountant here, not you. What are we doing here, guy?
And that's a write-off. If I eat some pie, I take that right off the top.
You get a write-off, and then you get a rebate, and then you refi your mortgage, and then you back tax your income and supplement your ovaries.
My ovaries.
That's the way I work it. Like I know the loopholes. I do what I do.
Right.
You don't ask questions, really.
And have any of your clients ever been audited by the IRS?
It's hard to be audited when you're behind bars. Most of my clients, they're in the big house. So
right.
Enjoy your time here in Rainbow Country.
Right. Isn't it nice?
God, that breeze. The smell. I love being by the ocean. The smell of sea urchin clit in the air. Just the waft of seahorse placenta and endangered sea turtle diarrhea. Oh, God.
Because they get nervous. They're in danger.
Whatever it is,
they can't keep a firm stool.
They can't, right?
No,
and they eat jellyfish, right?
Yes.
Sea turtles' diets continue. How do you have a solid stool?
Right.
How do you pinch a loaf underwater when you're ingesting jellyfish all day? You're going to be the king of diarrhea.
Right.
No wonder they're endangered.
Yeah.
They're dehydrated. They squirt all over the ocean.
And there's very little toilet paper in the ocean. I mean, there's a lot of toilet paper in the ocean, but it's all used.
It's all like it's very small. It's been pulped up.
Yeah.
You got to feel for them when they ingest a Portuguese man of war or a box jellyfish, because they're the ones that are lethal. They have the poisonous stingers on them.
Right.
And imagine, we've probably all had heartburn.
Yeah.
You've had a case of the Taco Bell runs. But imagine a Portuguese man of war running through your bowels.
And you're a turtle, so you can't even go like this.
No.
When it hurts. You can't touch
you won't even feel it.
No.
It's just so hard.
Yep.
Oh.
Jesus.
No
I think
wonder
that's
they're
going
in
to be the
danger.
video clip is you going, it's so hard.
Look, guy, I'm an accountant. I don't do kinky stuff. I'm not into your swinger scene that you do. Look, I just want to do your fucking taxes, get you a rebate if I can, and you do the other bait on your own time.
Got it.
Wow.
Jesus.
It's tough being your accountant, but look, we're friends. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an encounter with a sea turtle, by the way?
We go to this place in Jupiter, Florida. It's a turtle hatchery, and they've got 3 different types of sea turtles.
And you sit on the eggs?
You sit on the eggs, yes.
That's got to be like a 6-week commitment.
It is.
You and the whole family.
Well, if you fart, it's less time. It heats them up a little faster.
Heats them up,
well,
incubates
you've heated
them.
eggs. You've heated eggs on the
Yeah,
stove.
but I do the ones from Ralph's. I have thousands of chicklets around my little house. It's so fun because I come home, I got these little chickens, the little chicklets running around, and I come home at the end of a long day, I kick the door open and I just yell, "Where's my peeps at?" And hundreds, beep, 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 they just come running around my
Those
feet.
Are your
and
peeps.
I kick them and they stick to the ceiling fan. They're so fun. But
do you eat them at all, or are they considered more
when they're
friends?
mature?
Yeah.
When they mature, I kind of, it's sort of a bait and switch scenario. I pamper them. Oh, you're so cute.
Yeah.
I'll rub them while we're watching Murder, She Wrote, which is sort of a hint at what's coming.
Oh,
We'll sit around. I'm smoking my Scottish pipe. I've got my leather slippers on, and I'm petting them. Some of them sit on my breast. Some sit on my nut bag, and I just pet them and peep, peep, peep. They're so darling. And then about 9 months later, I just snap their neck, and now I'm the sea turtle.
Right.
Eat, eat, eat.
It's almost like a woman, like. When they're young,
you
cuddle, you walk, you hold their hand, and then once they turn 19,
snap their necks.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say make love to them, but your approach is
either way. It's fun. They love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird sometimes when you think?
Yeah.
I've had sex with 15 and 16-year-old girls. I was 15 and 16. But it's weird to think that at a certain point, I was making love to a girl that age.
Wow, yeah. You were 50. 15 on 15's legal.
Yep.
That's like high school loving.
They call it the Romeo and Juliet clause in court. I know that.
You do?
I'm familiar with that.
So you go to court and you read Shakespeare?
Well, it's called courting.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
It's romantic in court.
If you roll back the tape, aren't those years in high school when you're just starting to explore intimacy?
Yeah.
And the girl, you're both the same age, you're young teen, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
It's all new, it's all fresh. You're more excited than you're ever going to be in your life. But also the weight of the world, the problems of the world, the psychology of the world isn't in your system yet.
Right.
And so there's this purity, there's this love, the butterflies, you're so hungry and in love for each other.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, those are like, as much as you may love your wife or your girlfriend and you have great intimacy.
Yeah.
Those moments when you are just learning about it and with your first loves and your first experiences sexually or romantically.
Even if it's
beautiful.
Romantically, the fact that somebody, because your buddies, you play hockey with them, you wrestle, whatever, but
I'm talking about girls. With the girls in my high school, not in the locker room. What are you talking about?
No, I was talking about the girls too, like girls hockey.
I thought I heard the word wrestler. Maybe it's that the lights are making a hum. I heard wrestler and hockey.
Wrestling, making love, it's all the point of view of the person that it's going on with.
I think I see where you're going with this. I did. Some girls play hockey, and I don't know if you've ever done this. I did this when I was 16, since we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I made love to a girl up in Saskatchewan, Canada. We made love for 7 hours, both of us wearing goalie pads while we were doing it.
Did you get one between the legs?
I sure did. I got a hat trick.
Between the pads?
Yeah.
You got a hat trick.
She had 3 pads. I had 2.
Well, that shouldn't have been the time to do it.
I know, but that's the best time because they're never going to get pregnant.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
And you're never going to get clean.
And when you're a kid, you don't know that. You just think you're so good that you made them bleed.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's power.
That's power.
No, but it's true. The romance of being that age, what I was trying to say before you took it down Gay Street, is that your friends never communicate how they feel in any real way. And from your parents, you're just used to it. It's not, intimacy doesn't feel that powerful. But when you have a strange girl who's telling you that she loves you, even if she doesn't say it, wants to hold your hand, wants to look in your eyes, that is the most profoundly intense thing you've ever felt.
It's beautiful. And to your point, holding hands, even holding hands when you were a teenager was magical. You would hold for, and you calculated every little touch. Like you would hold, but then if she went like that, it meant something. If you squeezed harder, it was so beautiful. And I'm not saying that's gone when you're an adult, but that moment in time is just pure magic.
I remember sitting at a school play. You know, it's one of those things where you come in on a Tuesday night and they put on a theater production of something like Scarface, or just like a fun school play.
Scarface.
Yeah.
Right. School play. We did Cujo. Did you ever see that play?
Who played the dog?
That was my girlfriend.
No.
Yeah, goalie pads Karen. Yeah.
So she could walk on all fours because she had the pads on.
She had the pads, and they didn't have to fabricate the blood. You know, Cujo was a violent dog, got rabies, ripped people apart. And so.
And she was hairy?
She was hairy.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful Armenian girl. Yeah.
So she was a dog.
Yeah, she played Cujo. But you had Scarface.
So we had Scarface, but I went to this play.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting next to Claire Levy. And we start holding hands.
Yeah.
And we had never, we had flirted, but we held hands in the dark.
In the dark. How did it happen? Because I'm curious, did you just kind of reach over? Did she reach over? Did you kind of meet in the middle?
Our arms were both on the armrest, very purposefully. So we were touching the sides of our hands, which, like you said, even that was so erotic. And then I remember I was so nervous that my left leg jerked and jammed into her leg and actually hurt her. Ow! And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, no, it's fine.
Wow.
I was like, I'm just out of control right now.
Yeah. It's your whole body's alive. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. I remember when I was just starting in stand-up. There was this city outside of Toronto I'd go to.
Yeah.
And me and my girlfriend, her mother lived out there.
Yeah.
And so we would stay out there. But after my sets, this is when I was still doing amateur night.
Uh-huh.
And she sort of knew the area. And after I do my set, we'd go to there was this old house that was abandoned. It literally looked like the Psycho house from Psycho, that Alfred Hitchcock house. It looked like, and we'd pull up in the driveway.
The Bates Motel.
Yeah, it wasn't the motel, but it was the house that was on the hill.
Oh, right.
The Bates Hotel was where Norman stayed, but his mother lived up in the Psycho house. So we'd pull up this dirt driveway. This place was really unkept. And we'd park, shut off the lights, and she'd just get on my lap, and we would make that beautiful adolescent love in the car. And I was just like, beautiful.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, you held hands. I went straight to making love, which doesn't seem sort of fair, but you do you and I'll do me.
Well, you did her, it sounds like, that night.
I did, yeah.
Now, do you keep in touch with her? When's the last time you saw her? Do you go to reunions? Do you go to any of your...
Here's the sad part. We were doing it in the car, and you get out of control. You said you had the leg kick thing.
Yeah.
Well, I had a similar kick. knocked the emergency brake out.
No, you did it.
We rolled right down onto the...
So she didn't survive.
She went through the front window.
She did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just as she was orgasming. So if you've ever heard somebody get hit by an 18-wheeler, it's like pain and ecstasy meeting at the exact. She was like, it was just you never see it anymore.
For you got excited when you made her bleed. Now you killed her. That's got to be powerful.
It's powerful. It's been hard for me to make love ever since.
Yeah.
But if I'm near a highway or a busy intersection with confusing stop signs or lights that are maybe there was a power outage and like if things are a little wonky and
Is that why you call your podcast the Harland Highway, just as an homage to her?
It's sort of a little hint.
Yeah. I noticed on your logo there's a little blood in the breakdown lane.
Yeah. Most people think it's a dragonfly, but we know what it is now.
Yeah. What was her name?
Menstrual Sally.
Oh, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was Menstrual Sally?
Yeah, she was in a menstrual band.
Wow.
And coincidentally couldn't control her ovaries.
Yeah.
It was just one of those weird nature's flukes.
Yeah, right.
What are the odds?
Flows.
Nature flows, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, have you ever had a period? You look like you have.
I had a hemorrhoid that bled once.
Okay. What kind? Did you use a tampon or?
Yes.
What kind?
Not the inside, the pad. I used.
With the wings.
Yeah.
So when you farted, did your ass flap?
I took air.
You literally lift it up.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with those winged ones.
I know.
They're called wings for a reason.
Yeah.
You fart too hard, you get hit a ceiling fan.
Right. And I think that we should talk to the U.S. military about that because they're spending so much money on drones.
Yeah.
A wing tampon is like $1.29.
Right.
So we give them beans, get them fully loaded with gas. Put a tampon on their ass and send them over Cambodia. Are we still fighting there?
We are,
Yeah.
We're fighting over egg rolls, believe it or not.
Jesus.
Yeah. So they want to go full spring roll, but we want egg rolls. So there's this big kind of, Asian/Oriental battle going on.
I think it's just Asian. I don't think they call it Oriental anymore.
They don't?
No.
They don't or we don't? Is it offensive to us or is it offensive to them? Because I have a feeling most people don't care, but it's just in America we're so worried about it. It's not Scottish. It's Scottish.
There's a shop on this corner that says Oriental rugs, and it's run by an Asian man. Figure that out.
So if it really irked him that much, what would he put out there then? Change Oriental to what?
Throw.
Throw rug?
Yeah, that doesn't sound as good.
I thought you were going to say throw an Asian, which isn't
that's
really.
The shop next to it.
That's the next shop.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk in front of that glass window.
Right.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I wonder if Asian, I didn't really understand that Oriental was kind of a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Okay, educate me. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but what is Oriental? What is the bad part of Oriental?
Well,
what does it mean?
It's a way for people to keep track of whether or not you are staying with what they're telling you should say. Like, I can write a check to the NAACP, but I can't say the words that stands for.
What does it stand for? Oh, you can't say it.
National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. But
is that true?
You never heard of the NAACP?
I thought that was like a golf thing.
It's college golf. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So it's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People?
Right.
Okay. How does that play into, you can't say Oriental?
I'm just talking about how that word was acceptable at a time, and yet,
Oriental was.
Well, why don't they change NAACP or United Negro College Fund?
Yeah. Or what about HCF?
What does that stand for?
Honky College Fund. Like I don't worry about that.
Yeah, right.
Maybe everyone else is just culturally sensitive.
Right.
I don't know. There's so much of that going on. I don't want to offend anybody, but sometimes you don't even know you are.
What are the words in Canada that are offensive? What would you call a Canadian that was considered offensive? Or you guys don't
Well, that's
have
the thing.
word?
We have fun with it. The Canadian, like a goofy Canadian, they're called hosers. Okay, that's kind of your Canadian who works out in the bush.
And, who were they?
Bob and Doug,
Bob and Doug, you say hosers. Yeah.
They kind of coined that phrase, but it's kind of the Canadian version of a redneck.
What does it refer to, a hoser?
It refers to just kind of your guy who kind of talks like this, and right on, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go out behind the warehouse and smoke a fucking dart, and then maybe we'll throw down and fucking go rip her up in the mud, hey? Let's go jigging for squid later there, bye. Lord Tundran G's, your sister looks like a fucking light post. I'd like to take her out and pop her zits on a Thursday night there, for fuck's sake. Put some donuts on her ass and call her creamsicle. That type of thing. And if you're going to laugh, that's culturally insensitive.
I don't think it's right for me to laugh.
But here's the thing. We love it.
Yeah.
We have fun with it. We get it that you're in jest. We actually embrace it. I think it accentuates us culturally.
Absolutely.
Because laughter is so important. And unless there's some kind of racial slur or something involved, I get it. You don't want that. You don't want to be hurtful to people.
Okay.
But I don't know, have other cultures lost their sense of... I think the Irish and the Scottish, they love jokes about themselves.
Well, here's how you can tell.
Yeah.
Can you do their accent? Like, I can do, hey, what about you, lad? It's a soft day, thank God. Look at the rainbow on you. You'll find a pot of gold at the end of it.
And that is?
Italian.
Okay, great.
And then my Irish accent is, hey, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to your mama's house and get a pasta primavera?
Perfect. Northern Ireland?
Northern
Sounds
Ireland.
like an O'Donnell.
Yes.
Wow, you good guy.
Now, you do an Asian accent.
Oh, you and your friend get out of here. I'm going to fucking come over there and rub your face in a sea scallop, motherfucker.
That's...
See, to me, there's no difference.
Yeah.
If I can do that, then I can do a Southern accent.
Right.
I could do a British accent if I want to after that.
Yeah.
And I can do a German accent. It doesn't matter.
Can we roll back on the German one real quick?
I'd like not to. I was doing a German with an epilepsy, and that's not right.
Yeah. That's not
It's
right.
okay to do the German, but you can't do the German epileptic.
Not an ep. No,
you can't do that. That's where you crop. But just to do the straight German, you're good.
Right.
So if you can do Scottish, you can do an Indian. I can do an Indian accent.
Yes.
But some people think is that not how they sound?
Can you do an Indian talking to a Pakistani?
Yes. Hello, how are you today? I am pretty good. We are not that much different. The only thing separating us is a invisible border. And oh yes, we have nukes and you don't. Fuck off, asshole.
Wait, who has the nukes? India? You don't know.
No, they both do, actually. They both do.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
That's why there's so much simmering tension. But yeah, you should be able to do. It's all about intent. If you're having fun, people don't realize, because we're comedians, when you're doing that, you're embracing and holding up. You're celebrating that diversity. You're celebrating that culture. You're having fun with it.
The old roast thing, the line of "we roast the ones we love," it really comes down to that. And like Tony Hinchcliffe getting in all that trouble because he was making Asian jokes after that guy went on. That's the world of comedy. We're in it together. We're brothers and sisters in comedy. We can all take a joke.
Did he get in trouble? I didn't see that. Did he get in trouble?
He got in a lot. His agents dropped him, and his sponsors dropped him, and it cost him money. He's since come back with I would even say it helped him because he handled it just right.
Oh, okay.
He didn't apologize. He doubled down on it. And he also started bringing an Asian guy on tour with him.
Great.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Did he belittle him?
Of course. Well, they're little. They're Asian.
Right. Be little. That's
Be
their slogan.
little.
Yeah. Interesting. See, we're having fun. Are we having fun? Where's my Asian peeps at? Where's my Indian peeps at?
Hey,
Where's my Asian Indian peeps at?
You have Indian chickens at your house?
Excuse you?
You said that you call your little chickens peeps.
Peeps, that's
And then
right.
you just said, where's my Indian peeps?
Why not? Who knows what a chicken is? Who knows what nationality any animal is?
Right.
I mean, you
All
can
right,
have
I'm going to give you an animal, and you tell me what nationality
Okay.
they are. All right. A dog.
What kind of dog? Because there's a lot.
Beagle.
Beagle, Jewish.
Yep.
Is it a onion beagle or a sesame beagle or? Well, if you're gonna laugh at your own questions, wow.
And they're circumcised, the bagels. There's no hole.
Oh
There's a
wow,
hole there,
God!
right?
It gives you that extra cream cheese. Yeah.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
All right. What about a goat?
Oh, okay. A goat. I would say they are British, right?
That makes sense.
I think they're British.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really the only animal that can eat that food. Is a goat, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, the bangers and the mash.
Oh, God. I got to say, in fairness, when I went to London years ago, you were right. I don't want to, it sounds mean, but the food was not good over there. It was very bland.
Very bland.
I had trouble finding. I was in London this year, and they have turned it around.
I heard that.
I've heard that. It is a delectable, like the food there was amazing. Very cosmopolitan, very like eclectic. It was, oh, I love the food there.
So do you think it was because of the Queen that the food was bad and then she died and now suddenly they're free to make better food?
Oh, did she have like an iron fist over what they could eat?
I think so.
Hello, my citizens. Today we'll have boiled beef, beans, and bread.
All bees.
Yeah, bees.
Because they're British.
They're British. Dude, I already set it up for you. Let's not. Come on, bro. God.
Do you think the food might have been better because the last time you went, you were not as successful, so you weren't brought to the good restaurants. And now I have to say this, you've had a long career, and it is the kind of career any entertainer would dream of because you had success fairly early on. I think you came to LA, and I think you told me that right away things started to happen for you. You did one set in a club, and you were seen, and you were booked on. Was it Letterman or something?
No. It was. I did my first time on stage, and I got off stage, and back then in the late '80s, I was at the Laugh Factory, and they did all those shows like Evening at the Improv,
Showcases
Comedy on the Road.
Yeah, right.
There was one on Fox that they did on network every Friday night. It was called
Comic Strip.
Something like that.
Live.
Yeah,
Right.
And so I walked off stage, and like two different producers came up and said, "Oh, we want to put you on these shows." And I couldn't believe it. And so it just sort of the momentum started right away. Now, that being said, I didn't come to the States and just step on the stage. This is my first time doing comedy.
Yeah.
I spent 7 years in Canada, like really honing my act, honing what I do.
Yeah.
Making sure my act was at a place where I knew if I went down and got in front of people, God willing, it would make some noise. And so it did.
And when they haven't seen you, when you start here, it's almost like boiling a frog. You know that expression where they don't notice that you've gotten good because they've seen you for so long.
Right, that's
but
right.
When you like, I kind of had the same experience in New York because I was in Boston for a lot of years. And when I came to New York, they hadn't seen me, and I was developed enough where it stood out a little bit.
Yeah,
and
right.
So things happen.
So you pop a little more because, like, who's this new guy?
Yeah.
And why is he so seasoned? And he's funny. He's good. He's not. He's not searching. He's like there.
And I think also the stage time, like Canadian audiences are famously really supportive, and I think your confidence was probably higher than it would have been for a comic that was in L.A. playing for 9 people in a bowling alley at midnight in Rancho Cucamonga, and everybody's Mexican. And you forgot to wear your pants that night, so you've got on gym shorts, and your hair is starting to gray, but you're kind of denying it, so you're conscious of that.
You're putting a lot on me. Can I tell you the real story?
Yeah.
Wow. Write novels much?
It was all in the script.
No, what you're saying is accurate, but it was sort of a mixture.
Yeah.
I came down full of confidence. Like, you have to. I had it in my head. I'm not going down there till I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, I mentally said to myself, the urge was to go down after, oh, I've done it for 2 years, or I got to headline it for a year. I'm going to go down. Like, I wasn't going to be that stupid, so I thought, I want to be in a place where I just know I'm kicking ass and everyone else is taking notice, and it's time to go. So I came down full confidence, like 100%.
Can I just ask you, were you that improvisational back then, or did you have more of a written act back then?
I'd say it was a little less improvisational, but it was still there. But I'd say I leaned more on a written act.
Okay.
But I was still finding my way into improving because I always wanted to. I knew before I ever stepped on stage I wanted to improv.
Yeah.
Do crowd work, just riff and let stuff happen. But I was still a little, tepid, a little nervous about that. So I was doing it, but not as much. Right. So I came down 100% confident. I got here, and the one thing I didn't expect is the comedic sensibilities, at least at that time, were different.
What year was this?
This was in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And what I grew up in Canada with is we grew up with a huge British influence. Monty Python, Benny Hill.
So absurd.
Absurd, silly, a little more cerebral.
Yeah.
And then in America, it was a little more, I always described it as John Belushi popping the zit from Animal House. Just that kind of in-your-face, kind of brash, kind of, Jane, you ignorant bitch, from Saturday Night Live. It was a little more that over-your-head kind of...
Yeah.
A little more
Sam Kinison.
Sophomoric, a little more like locker roomish, and then also you had the Canadian sensibility because we were kind of the ice cream sandwich. You guys were the outer layers, and here was us in the middle between the UK and the US.
Right.
And here's Canada, and we all had our own kind of sensibility, that kind of hoser fucking absurd kind of stupid thing, which you can only get in Canada. So I came in with that mishmash.
And like Howie Mandel, just like...
Yeah, but he was a little more visual, so it was easier to get. I came in, if anything, I'd say a little more cerebral. Okay. A little more silly cerebral.
Yeah.
And when I got on stage, I'll never forget it, man. When I first came down here, some of my jokes that I literally would get standing ovations for in Canada, silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like a bucket of water in the face. Like, not all of them, but I'd say about 40, 50% of my killer jokes in Canada, crickets down here.
Yeah.
And that was the thing I didn't see coming. And man, did I have to adjust fast. I didn't compromise what I do. I didn't compromise.
But it was a little subtle for these audiences.
It was a little. Some of them were a little subtle and just didn't register.
Yeah.
And so I had to find a way to stay true to my style, my comedy, but now kind of try to find the American sensibility.
Right.
And that was a real curveball for me. But I was like, I didn't come down here to fuck around. Like, let's find it. Don't go crying, gee, that joke I spent so long doesn't work. I was like, adjust. Like,
and
it was
like when I came to New York, I think the guy I looked at that showed me the tone of New York that I learned from was probably Dave Attell.
Okay.
Was there someone in L.A. that you sort of looked at and went, all right, this guy gets how L.A. comedy works. What can I learn from him or her?
God, this is going to sound pompous as hell, but I didn't want to look at anybody.
Okay.
I didn't want to be influenced by anybody.
Yeah.
I was just so, this is comedy, this is art. We all have our own brush strokes. Van Gogh doesn't paint like Picasso, so I love comedians, but I don't want to be influenced by them. I just want to go down my own lane, you know? And so I don't know if that's selfish or conceited, but it's all I could see.
Yeah.
And so I just stayed in my own lane.
Uh-huh.
And I've been there ever since. It's I love other comedians and their styles and stuff, but I think all of us in a way have to be selfish that way. I think some people, you'll talk to comedians like, oh yeah, I was really influenced by Richard Pryor or George Carlin. Well, I didn't want to be influenced. I always go back to that thing. I talking about influence, right? I go, think about the very first comedians, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy.
The Marx Brothers.
Could they look at anybody?
No.
Could they look at someone behind them? No, they just had to go purely on their instinct of what they thought was funny, and I just adopted that philosophy. I don't want to be influenced by someone. I just want to present my own thing and see if I can make it on my own lure. And
I'll tell you, my family's obsessed with the Marx Brothers. We had a 5 CD, a DVD collection, and since my kids were like 4 years old, I mean, it works for little kids, and it works for experienced comedians.
Right.
And we still in rotate. Last night we sat down, we had dinner, and then we watched A Night at the Opera.
Nice.
And I'm telling you, I've seen that movie 30 times, and I doubled over laughing about 4 times during that movie. Those guys, you can't describe what they do. The musicianship is off the charts.
Right, yeah.
Harpo's harp playing, Chico's piano playing.
Right.
Groucho was singing opera, and it was pretty good in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Back in those days, actors and comedians, they were so multifaceted.
Dancers.
They could dance, they could sing, they could juggle. They were in a time where it's like,
and they did their own stunts.
Everything. Oh, Buster Keaton must have came close to dying every 10 days. Yeah.
Harpo was swinging across a rope, and it was him.
Yeah.
And then their timing, their interplay, the writing of the jokes. I mean, all of it. It was lightning in a bottle. I can't imagine. I mean, there's been great comedy troupes over the years.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody matches what those guys.
Mine were the Three Stooges.
Really?
They were a little more. The Marx Brothers were good. To be honest, I didn't watch them that much, but I know of them. I've seen some of it. Yeah. And they're obviously great. Mine were the Three Stooges just because they were so silly and so brash. And I loved Curly and all the stupid. But to your point, what's interesting is you take those old movies like Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers, Buster Keaton, and you look at them, they're old black and white. Look how they dress. Look at the cheesy corn. But if you really take time to sit down and watch them, you, like you said, you will laugh. Yeah, you will laugh because their comedy is timeless. Like it's a different sensibility. But base humor is base humor, and you will laugh if you let yourself get into it. You know?
And it's timeless. Like you think about so much of the comedy that happened in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Is not going to last. I can't think of that many. Like Lucille Ball, she was great, but I don't know that it holds up.
I didn't even, not to sound mean, I didn't even like that when I was it when I was growing up.
But then you go back to these acts that came out of vaudeville. The reason why they were so good is that they were doing, like Duck Soup, which I think was their first or second movie, was a play that they'd been putting on the road in 30 cities a year.
Oh, really?
For years.
I didn't know that.
When they made that movie, they knew every beat. And if you watch the camera work, it is one locked off wide shot. Huh. And occasional singles, but it's almost all a long, and the musical numbers, one camera, one long shot.
Dude, you sold me. You know what? I'm a movie guy. I've never watched Duck Soup.
No,
I'm going to watch it.
That's a great one.
And you're probably sitting here, because this happens to me when I hear someone who says they haven't seen Citizen Kane or the original Blade Runner, I go, oh my God, you're so lucky because you still get to experience it for the first time. Right. So I think because I'm going to watch it and I get to have that experience.
Good,
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And what's your gift to me? What movie should I see that maybe I haven't seen?
When I was at that house years ago, we had a dash cam. And we got to film a few of our little experiences making love in that car. And I'm going to send you that video. And if you want to watch it with the family or just on your own, it's up to you. And we even have the one where she rolled out into the street. That's sort of the action-adventure one. It's the end of the season.
Would that be considered snuff?
Depends.
Is that the genre that you'd put that in?
It depends how many episodes you watch in a night. But it could be a snuff, or you might want more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And now, a guy like you...
Did you miss that one?
What did you say?
I said it could be a snuff, or you might want more.
Yeah.
Could be a snuff.
Oh, snuff.
You know what?
You don't have a watch.
Well, I was checking my arthritis. And you go, what the fuck's, dude? Can't a guy have an ailment anymore?
It looks pretty good.
Well, this finger's a little fucked, but you know, that's the one I used in the car.
Right. Oh, that's a lingering from that night?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a constant reminder of menstrual Sally.
Yeah, I just used to, I call it the horseshoe crab.
Yeah.
It was a move I did. And most people don't bring their little finger into sexual activity, but I did it right out of the gate.
Well, she was 15. This is too big for her. You start with the pinky.
Well, she wasn't 15. This is when I was this is when I was doing stand-up.
Oh.
Yeah, she was 19.
Okay, so so the pinky probably wasn't doing a lot for her. I think you might have stepped it up at that age to the middle finger.
Don't say I wasn't doing a lot. I mean, she did smash through the front window of a Prius and get hit by a truck.
There was no Prius when you started comedy.
I meant priest. There was a priest in the back of the Ford Escort.
So she got her last rites.
Yeah, she got her last rites.
That's important. Yeah. Now, what's your feeling on priests at this point? Because Norm Macdonald, who's a fellow Canadian.
Norm, I came up with Norm in Toronto.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, we came up together. So I started in Toronto, and Norm was in Ottawa, which is Canada's capital. And he started in Ottawa, and then after I was doing it about a year, maybe a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, and then Norm moved to Toronto because Ottawa was just too small of a market. So Norm moved to Toronto, and we had a riot.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Sorry, I mean not interrupt you. You were saying
no. I was just saying like he was on the pod. He used to come on the podcast a lot, and one time I brought up priests. And I made it derogatory. As a Catholic, I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
So I have pretty strong opinions about the priesthood.
Yeah, you should.
But I said something denigrating about them, and he full on defended priests and things because they have done a lot of good. And I just think Norm always had a take you did. I think you're similar. I think that sometimes I stumble upon an issue with you that you have a take on that's not like other people's takes.
Probably, but I'd like to see that footage of Norm because I knew Norm real well, and I have a feeling he might have been having you on.
No, because I've heard him do it multiple times since then.
Might have been having everybody
Really?
on.
Yeah.
Probably. If I knew Norm very well. We were buddies, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But in all the years I was with him, he never got uptight about priests. So I'd like to see the footage. He's making me laugh. He was good like that. So we'll see.
Let me ask you this. If you started up with Norm, he famously never drove. So did you end up driving him places a lot?
You know what? I refused.
Oh, you did.
So we were buddies, and I used to when I got to Hollywood, I lived way up in Glendale, and he lived right down in Hollywood, right near the Improv. And we were together all the time. We'd play tennis. We'd do everything. And then we joined a baseball team, and Norm would have people come over to his townhouse all the time. He lived there with his wife and his little dog, and we were there all the time. And he'd always like invite comics over. You know, comics. A lot of comics were enamored by Norm. Like he was like a bug light, and they would drift to him. You know, and Norm would be like, "Hey man, come on over. Let's write some jokes. Come on over. We'll write some comedy." You know, I'd be there. And these comics would come over, all full of and guys I knew, people that I knew, and they'd be all lit. Oh yeah, and they'd come to the door and, "Hey Norm, let's write some jokes." He goes, man, can you drive me to Santa Monica for an audition? Like he'd literally lure them in with a promise of comedy grandeur, and he'd get them to drive him all over the city. And you just saw their faces sag. They were like, "Hey!" It was like a kid. Their dad was saying, "Let's go to the zoo," but Daddy's got to stop at the office first.
And meanwhile, they drive him to the gig, and now he's reading the sides, so you can't even talk to him. He's studying his lines.
That was it. And so because I was so close to him, I used to give him, I said, "Norm, you can't do that." We actually sort of got in a little bit of a heated thing about it because I didn't like it. And so he never did it to me, but I was like, "Dude, just get your license." To this day, I still don't know why he's a perfectly competent guy to get his license, but I guess he had a phobia about driving or something.
Yeah.
But
and he always had, people would always drive Adam Egget or Mary Jo, and they were there for him. But also, he was kind of famous. Like, I've talked to other friends of his that he was close to, and he could just ghost people. He could just kind of fall off for a while. Did you experience that?
I don't really want to get into the, he was a really close friend, and I don't want to get into what he did and didn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have our things, but that there was a point in time where I had a falling out with him over things, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
I don't want to disparage him. I love him.
Yeah.
We were great friends, but
he was very special.
I'll let if there's someone out there that experienced, I'll let them tell the story. I don't want to be the conduit for any hearsay or stories or any bad energy. I just love the guy.
I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about the internet to me is the fact that somebody that you loved, if they were funny and prolific, you can always go back and spend some time with them on the internet. And I just can't seem to find every Norm clip. Every time I go down that rabbit hole again, there's another Conan interview. There's another old stand-up clip. There's just always something I haven't seen.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
it just doesn't it make you feel good when you can go back and see the Kevin Meaney? I'll watch old Kevin Meaney
Kevin.
clips.
I was just thinking of him this morning, the big pants people.
Big pants people.
Yeah, the internet is great like that, and also it's not just a sentimental journey. You can study them. You can go back and watch people and kind of learn from them, and it doesn't have to be, like I said, a comedy influence, but you could just. People don't realize that Norm was very prolific on the talk show circuit, and as was I. We did them a lot. We were part of and people didn't realize that was a whole. If you study that's a whole nother skill set.
Yeah, right.
It's a whole stand up. You could go on a Tonight Show or whatever, go out and do your 8 minutes of stand up, but then to go and sit down and learn how to banter with these star-level hosts like Letterman and Leno and Carson, that was almost like a whole art form unto itself. It's something you have to learn on the fly. When I started doing talk shows, they were sort of awkward and clunky, and then you just sort of, if you watch the trail of Norm, or you watch the trail of me, or you watch the trail of any comic like Robin Williams, anyone who did the talk show circuit. If you watch the early ones, you'll see how they evolve. And you can sort of see how you have to switch gears. I found it almost just as fascinating learning the talk show circuit and how to do it successfully as much as...
And really customizing it for each host, because it's a very different experience. Some guys really just Jay Leno may just want, give me the topics, I'm going to set you up and you're going to go, as opposed to... Letterman seemed to enjoy when somebody could do something and he could poke them a little bit, and then you could come back and there could be some interplay. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. It was such a dance. Yeah. First of all, it was such a dance just to understand the talk show realm. Yeah. But then the rest of the dance came, there was many tiers to this dance. Then there was understanding your host, how to dance with the host. And then there was the tier of how to dance with the four cameras on you. How do you play them? Go look at old guys like Milton Berle and Jack Benny and George Burns. These guys, they do a joke and then they just look at they do a face to right. Like the camera was a second entity to them. Right. And then the third one, just like stand up, you're there. You've got this wall of cameras between you. You're focusing on Jay Leno or Letterman, maybe John Travolta or Samuel Jackson sitting on the other side. Yeah. So now you're dealing with these superstar guests that you would never... And then the other element is the live audience. It's just like stand-up. Right. Now you're feeling their energy. You're figuring out how to break away from Letterman so you can give them a look or a nod or an nod. It's such a dance. Then you got the band. Sometimes the band gets involved, right? I would say if you really want to study... A side element to stand-up is to go in and watch your favorite comedians like Seinfeld or Norm or Mitch Hedberg or whoever. Watch the dance in there. There's a lot of learning in there. It's a really interesting realm. And then there was people that didn't do stand-up, but were legendary guests, starting with Albert Brooks, who really only did he did some stand up.
He did stand up on the Tonight Show.
Right, but he didn't do he broke in. The first time he did the Tonight Show was doing a bit, because you know the whole story, right?
Yeah. You can see that on YouTube. Yeah.
Right. And he would come up with these really funny conceptual things. He bought a Speak and Spell on one time, and he did a comedy team with a Speak and Spell.
Yeah.
He always had funny concepts that worked.
Yeah.
And then you got Bill Murray, who would come out and do. One time he came, or Steve Martin. Steve Martin and Bill Murray came out, and
great.
I remember Steve came out, and he came out and he immediately bowed, and he had his hands up, and he was just walking, and the crowd was going crazy. They just kept bowing. And he kept bowing, and then finally he stood up, and he had a sign that said "World's Longest Bow."
Great, man. Yeah, that's what I mean. It was almost people really don't talk about it that much, but the art of doing the talk show, you can almost write a book about it. It's sort of an untapped conversation piece, maybe, but the different levels and gears to it are fascinating. And that's another thing. You can really go into YouTube and go back and watch it. And it's a whole different category of comedy,
Yeah. And those old ones are amazing. Like, you go back, like I've got this DVD collection of Dick Cavett's show.
Wow.
And that was amazing, because it wasn't just the comedy, but it was like he had this ability to bring on Jimi Hendrix or Bill Buckley or people, and he would just get them to come out in a way, even John Lennon, they would come out in a way that you'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like build to a clip, commercial breaks, set up a story. It was just, here's Dick Cavett, who's this, got his PhD from Yale. He's a brilliant writer.
Yeah.
And he just was he was a warm intellectual, and people felt honored to sit with him, and so they wanted to give him more.
Right,
it was amazing.
Yeah. He was, it's, that whole genre is its own kind of art form.
Is that something you've ever wanted to do, host a talk show?
Well, back in the day I entertained it because I thought, it's such a dynamic thing. And then at one point when, excuse me, I was up in Canada, I actually hosted a talk show for about, maybe 10 or 12 episodes. It was a ridiculous talk show where I was the host and the sidekick was a talking sock. It was called Ed the Sock.
On your hand?
No, it was on. There's a guy hiding behind the couch.
Yeah,
and it was actually really hilarious. And I moved off to L.A. I was just getting my start, and I went back to do some more. And the guy had just, like, without telling me, got rid of me and hired one of my buddies to be the host, a guy who I introduced him to.
Are you serious?
So needless to say, I never talked to that guy again for the rest of my life. It was really mean.
What a betrayal.
Yeah, didn't even talk to me. But
you should have showed up one night.
Yeah.
Knocked out the guy with the sock, and then you could have gone up with the puppet and just destroyed everything. All of his jokes. Just kill him.
Yeah. Well, it was actually funny, but so I did this show where I had this sidekick, was sort of like the Ed McMahon, was this mean, abrasive talking sock. And so I did that for a little bit, and it was really hard at that point because we didn't have, like, great talent and they'd bring in the guy from Dunkin' Donuts or a magician and I was trying to be...
This is in Toronto?
This is in Toronto, and I was trying to be like your typical talk show host, and I really struggled to ask real typical questions. And so I didn't like the experience, it turned out. But then later in life, I became the host of my podcast, The Harland Highway.
Right.
But now I'm at a place where all my comedy gears are now fleshed out. They've come to fruition. I kind of know the medium. I know, like I said earlier, the lane I want to be in. And so now, like you, I think all of us are sort of like talk show hosts on our own podcasts, obviously.
And we don't have to worry about a studio audience. We don't have to worry about commercial breaks. We invite the guests we want. You're not being given a guest that you're trying to figure out how it's going to work. You bring in your friends.
You bring in your friends, or I even like to bring in people I've never even met, but kind of know about them. And now that I'm more advanced in my delivery and my ability to work with people and talk with people, I sort of like having people sometimes that I don't even know.
Who was your best surprise in terms of bringing somebody in?
Oh,
really
wow. Corey
popped?
Feldman. I brought Corey Feldman in, and I'd never met him. I bumped into him at a party, and I said, hey, you want to be on my podcast? And I really didn't know much about, I mean, I knew him as, Corey Feldman, but I wasn't sure how the podcast would go. And I finished, I was like, wow, that was a really beautiful, like funny, introspective, revealing.
Really?
He was very open and he was charming and funny, but I was able to find a way to, it was a really gratifying interview.
That's amazing.
He was a guy I didn't know. And
you know what's great about him is like, the thing about show business is it doesn't matter how big the crowd is or what your paycheck is. We're all doing the same process.
Yeah.
Tom Segura's on stage in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I might be in front of 225 that same night.
Yeah.
And his paycheck is obviously right. We're doing the same thing. We're connecting to people with our thoughts. We're being creative. And Corey Feldman is out there on the road, and he plays these bar shows.
Yeah.
And he is having the time of his life. He's playing kind of a Michael Jackson character. He's, the music isn't, for me, but I like to see him enjoying himself. I think it's amazing.
He's doing what he wants to do. He's following his artistic voice.
Right.
And that's all any artist can do.
Yeah.
And whether you like someone or hate them, it's as long as you have the drive and you feel you're giving something, and there's always going to be people, 80 people might hate it, but 80 people might love it. So you can't think about pleasing everyone. You just have to go, what's special about me? What can I deliver? And hopefully you find people that want to embrace it. Yeah. And the world will tell you if more people don't like it than like it, then maybe you have to go, maybe this isn't for me. But hopefully your calling is true and pure and people rally around it. But that's part of the gamble of life.
All right. Well, listen, let's get into the Olympics is coming up.
The regular ones or the special ones?
Well, I think they're pretty special. They only happen every 4 years.
Yeah, but, well, I guess the people in the special ones don't know about time and schedules, so they could be for any time for them. Right.
If you were to put together, there's the pentathlon, right?
Oh, I love that.
That's, you run 200 yards.
Yeah.
You do a long jump. You do a discus throw. You do a javelin throw. And then
you shoot the rifle?
Nope, that's a different one.
Oh.
Then you wrestle a guy. Like, who put those together?
Wow.
Wait,
say them again?
It's the 200-yard run, the long jump, the discus throw, the javelin throw, and then you wrestle. Like, it's all track and field, and all of a sudden it's wrestling. It comes from the Greek. It's an old Greek
it's like almost like a Greek salad. Too many ingredients.
It's too many ingredients.
Yeah. Wow.
And I feel like wrestling is the black olive.
Yeah.
There's a pit in it if you're kind of worried about
nothing like doing 8 other exhausting events.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you have to do the one that requires the most strength and energy.
Right. And it's the one where everybody's sweaty from doing all the running and throwing.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, in comedy, what would be your pentathlon?
That's a dinosaur, by the way, what you just said.
Oh.
You said the pentathlon?
Right.
That's from the Paleozoic era.
Paleozoic?
Yeah, they were large lizards, just a little under the size of a T-Rex.
No kidding.
They were the smaller version of the T-Rex.
Wow.
Is that what you wanted to talk
about?
So
like a small T-Rex, not a capital T-Rex.
That's right, like underscore.
Right.
Lowercase T-Rex.
So there's the Comedy Olympics.
Okay.
What's the pentathlon? What are the 5 events?
For comedy?
Yeah.
God, I guess it would be stand-up, crowd work, improv, maybe physical comedy, like the kind of stuff Michael Richards does, like something
like silent.
Not necessarily silent, but you have to you remember how he would slide into a room, or he could
or
real
Sebastian,
real physical comics, to show that. And then the 5th one would maybe be, I don't know, comedy acting.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd show that on stage, but you You act out a scene or
like
something.
A sketch.
Well, that might fall under improv, but maybe
Right.
a sketch. Maybe because a sketch is more written out. So
right.
those are at least 5 strong comedy
kind of fun,
categories.
Wouldn't
And
it
then
be
wrestling at the end.
What about a comedy Olympics? And wrestling at the end, yes.
I mean, picture yourself doing all 5 of those: improv, stand-up,
Yeah.
acting, sketch, and then you have to wrestle Elaine Boozler.
Right.
You know?
The booze.
Yeah, or Paula Poundstone.
Yeah.
She comes
She'll
out
pound you.
Just fucking grappling with her.
Yeah, right.
She'll take you down.
Yep.
Rosie O'Donnell in one of those spandex wrestling outfits.
Right.
You just finish like some improv.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doctors and we're trapped on an island, and you do that whole thing. And then Rosie comes out and she's like, and you get a wrestler covered with olive oil.
Olive oil.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, not olive oil, because she was probably eating before she came out. So,
I thought you meant from Popeye that she.
No, she spilled olive oil because she was probably
arms.
marching through a salad or some of that Italian bread where you dip it in oil and just
garlic,
spillage.
Butter, and a lot of slippery things.
Yeah, bacon.
But what about that? What if we did a comedy Olympics as a TV show? That might be kind of interesting.
That would be amazing because I think all comedians like that challenge.
Yeah.
At least I know I do. There was a show on NBC years ago called Thank God You're Here.
Uh-huh.
And it was so fun. It was hosted by David Alan Grier.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically this concept where they got comedians and they basically took you behind stage, put you in a costume, and pushed you through a door onto a set like this, and on the set was a full set with other actors, and as you walked in the door in your costume, the first line from one of the actors was like, "Oh, thank God you're here." That was the opening line for everybody.
Uh-huh.
And then you had to walk in and just create a scene with them in the moment.
That's amazing.
It was wonderful.
So you're looking at the set.
You're looking at the set. They're throwing lines at you, and it's amazing. If anyone wants to see mine, I had to write it. I think it's on YouTube. Thank God you're here.
Did you win the competition?
I won it. I went up against Jane Lynch.
No way.
I went up against Jane Lynch. Who's the guy from Seinfeld, the little fat guy?
Jerry Seinfeld?
No, the short fat guy.
Elaine?
Was it
Julie Louis-Dreyfus?
She's fat.
Okay.
No, is she a guy?
Jason Alexander?
Yeah, the guy who played. What was his character's name? Larry or something.
George Costanza.
So I went up against him, Jane Lynch, and Brian Posehn.
That's
insane. I won it. Somehow I won the thing. But I got to say, I had a great it was
Posehn tough on the wrestling part?
He's tall,
yeah.
Man,
So he really got behind it.
Yeah, like a lumberjack.
Yeah.
But they set me up in this thing where it was kind of almost like a British almost like a Sherlock Holmes sort of get up, like sort of the British old school
tweed.
Yeah. And I walked through the door, and here's this set like an old British library with a stuffed bear, and all the other guys had the sideburns and the monocles, and they're, "Oh, thank God you're here!" And I immediately went to, "Oh, well, nice to see you." I immediately went into this British, and whenever you can do an accent, and I find that costumes really help kind of narrate you as an actor and helps you find a character immediately. So I just went right into it, and it was glorious. They were going to do a second season, but they never did. But
and it seems like an inexpensive show. I mean, all you need is a set, and so the actors that you performed with, were they the same for each of the other contestants?
The other contestants,
but different scenario.
Different. So mine was like the British Library.
Yeah.
Frank Costanza's was a Star Trek one, which was sort of like he came on to Star Trek, and then Jane Lynch was like I think it was like a kind of a family sitcom, like kids and a father and a mother, and I forget what Brian's was, but it was really fun.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to see that.
So anyways, my point was, I think comics would really embrace dipping into other genres of comedy.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Good.
Challenging.
Let's do it.
Great. When do we start? You want to do it right now?
We just did it.
Some shows don't last, I guess.
This is like your friend stealing your show up in Toronto. I want to get his name after the show.
Yeah, me too.
All right, this is a part of the show we like to call Fastballs with Fitz.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some questions real quick.
Are you Fitz or are you Fastballs, just so I'm clear?
Well, right now I'm Fitz.
Okay.
But when I get going later on with the wife, they call me
Fastballs.
Fastballs.
Wow.
Yeah.
How lucky is she?
Well, yeah. Have you ever borrowed a lot of money or lent a lot of money?
Borrowed.
Borrowed.
Have I ever borrowed a lot of money or lent a lot of money? I think the most I ever borrowed when I was in, just got out of college, I wanted to buy a Fiero. Remember those cars?
Pontiac Fiero. Yeah, it looked like a little Porsche Boxster.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I actually went to my dad and asked him if I could borrow like $3,000. I had half of it, but I think it was like $3,000 is the most I've ever borrowed outside of, borrowing from the bank for a mortgage on a house and stuff like that. That's common stuff.
Did you pay him back?
Oh, yeah, I paid him back. I've never been in debt. I've never owed on anything. I've never been overdrawn on a credit card my whole life.
Has anyone ever asked you to borrow money?
Yes, but not substantial amounts. And I've found that even with close friends, there's been a few scenarios where I've lent close friends money and kind of some of them have paid me back. Yeah. But I always say, look, obviously they're in hard times, so I'm going to lend them the money. But I'm not going to put a constriction on them because, they're going through some tough times.
Sure.
So I say, when you're ready, when you're in a good place, pay me back.
Yeah.
Now, in a few of those scenarios, like a number of years drifted by. And I said, hey, we're buddies. I see what you're doing. You just bought a house, this, that. I said, you remember that? And I've had people I've lent money to turn around and get mad at me and say, what do you mean? I didn't borrow money. Or why would I pay you back? And so now I'm unless it's a tight family member or someone that really needs help, sometimes lending money can cause problems.
Well, I almost feel like if somebody asked me to borrow money, like we have a housekeeper and she's from Guatemala and she's undocumented and she's been with us for 23 years.
Okay.
And once in a while she comes and she says, I need to borrow some money, and we always just say it's not a loan, and we just give whatever she says.
Okay,
just give
that's
it to
nice.
her,
Yeah,
and you let go of it. And
I
think that with any loan, it has to be in your mind a gift, and if they end up giving it back, that's icing. But you just
some people I have done that. They've asked for money, saying that, and I know they can't give it back. I know that they're not good with money management.
Right.
I know that they're on this trajectory. So, yes, I've done that too. But I think what's annoying...
Is that Jeffrey Ross?
Not going to say no.
The Roast Master?
Not going to say... I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no.
Have you ever not finished a set on stage while performing?
Yes.
What happened?
I think you'll concur with this. Some of the worst audiences you can have are stags, stagettes, and Christmas parties.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, a pack mentality forms with those groups. And I find sometimes that if some of them decide not to laugh, they all decide not to laugh. Or if some of them get rambunctious and start heckling, they all we're a group, and they feel safe.
Yeah.
And since they're commandeering most of the room, they feel strength in numbers, and so they get emboldened to... And so this was early on in my career up in Toronto. I think I was in my first year and a half, and some local tennis celebrity was getting married and had his stag at the comedy club. And so the whole club was him and his entourage.
Oh.
So they rented out the whole club.
Yeah.
And, there were male tennis players, adolescents, like boisterous. And in the middle of the set, one of them went back to the bar and, they chop limes and lemons up. They found the whole lemons and limes. They stole them, and then they went to the coat room. And while I was up there and the other comedians, they started throwing lemons, limes, and coat hangers at us on stage.
No.
It was unreal. And I wasn't having it. Like one lemon, one coat hanger hit the wall. And I saw it there. I just said, see you fuckers. And I just walked off.
Right.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What am I? What is this, the Roman Colosseum? I'm not here for you to You know, it was like so. It was so. And it was nice. It felt good to just say, you know.
And you got to go home. You got to get all that lemon out of your clay. You don't even have to use detergent.
No.
I guess you could just put it in the washing machine and get that lemony
and
fresh.
that coat hanger. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do with the coat hanger?
Hung a sweater.
You did.
That was the only upside. I had this sweater
yeah.
that had been sitting in the corner for almost years.
Yeah.
And I finally had something to hang it with.
Now,
so,
it was on the floor for years. How come you didn't go to a store and just like buy a hanger for yourself?
I was in a bad state.
Okay.
I didn't have money. I was borrowing money from friends. Still haven't paid it back.
You're driving a Pontiac Fiero. You're driving brand new Pontiac Fiero and no hangers.
It's all an illusion. I figure if you got the Fiero, you create the illusion. It's all about smoke and mirrors when you're in show business.
Right.
So as long as I had the Fiero, everyone think Daddy was doing okay.
His sweaters are wrinkly, but man, this guy's got a nice car.
Oh God, those sweaters full of moth holes too.
And
the only animals in the zebras eat hay, lions eat zebras, crocodiles eat fish, and the only animal in the animal kingdom, moths, they love a good sweater or a turtleneck.
Isn't that amazing?
Strange appetite.
Yeah. Huh. All right, finally, we're going to do a quick thing, which I believe I've done with you before.
Whoa.
It's a segment called Talk Your Way Out of It.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a scenario, and on the spot, you're going to talk your way out of an uncomfortable situation.
I'll try. I'm not good at this, but let's try.
You're on the road. You're in Laughlin, Nevada. It's a small casino town, and you're doing a corporate gig for oceanographers. And before the show, you remember, you're starting to get nervous. They seem kind of nerdy. They're scientists. But then you remember that my classic bit about penguins and how it just seems like a lot of fat kids at a prom.
Right.
And so you think in your head, all right, nobody's ever going to see me. You go on stage, you open with it, and it crushes. And the rest of your set goes pretty well, but really that bit. And you get off stage, and I happen to have been doing an Adidas convention on the other side of town. I stop by to see you. You walk off. I call you on it.
Right.
Talk your way out of it.
So, listen, how old are you?
58.
And I'm a little bit older. So who's been on this planet longer?
You.
So who's had a chance to see penguins first?
Well, you.
So who probably came up with a bit about penguins seeing you didn't even exist on this planet? They were right in my wheelhouse, and I'm a comedian. There they are. They look like little short prom students.
Yeah.
You weren't around, bro. I got to it first. And that's what we call a win.
That's a win. Okay.
By the way, the ichthologist is the term you were looking for, not scientists.
Is that what it's called?
People who study fishes are ichthologists.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is it because when you cut open the stomachs and that stuff comes out, it's like ick?
Yeah.
Ick.
Yeah.
Finally.
I thought that was the last one. Oh, you don't want to go out losing. Okay, let's do another one.
You're watching women's gymnastics. Really, it's girls' gymnastics. And they're doing a lot of splits, and they're rolling.
Yeah.
And you get aroused. You get erect. And your dishwasher, who's a Guatemalan woman, sees what you're watching. Talk your way out of it.
Mr. Williams, what are you doing? You can't walk around the house erect. And I'm like, listen, I have this back injury. I got it when I was skiing 20 years ago. I've been laying on that bed for 20 years. Today I'm feeling good. I stood up and I'm erect. And let me walk around the house.
So your penis is flaccid.
Oh, yeah. Were you talking about a penis?
Oh.
I meant I was standing erect.
2 for 2. Harland Williams.
Wow.
Watch the Harland Highway, which is on all streaming services. He's got a number of books, children's books, adult books. He's got a number of specials. If you go to harlandwilliams.com, you can watch, I think there's like 4 specials on there you can watch.
Actually, I took them. The only time where you can find my specials is just searching through YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, my specials are old. I haven't done one in a long time.
You getting ready to do another one?
Not really.
I
did so many in my career, I'm sort of over them, but maybe I'll do one eventually, but
Okay.
So they're all old if you want to, but I would say check out the podcast.
The podcast
Harland
is
Highway.
blowing up. It is. You've only been doing. I mean, you did it, and then you took a break.
Yeah.
And now you brought it back. You've been back for about a year now.
Well, originally I just did it as audio for 11 years.
Right.
I took about a 4-year break, and I thought let's redo it on video on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's been up just a little bit over 2 years.
Yeah.
And we're
Oh, is it that long?
Yeah, it's
wow.
amazing. But we're doing good. And Greg's been on it like 3 times.
Yep.
Another one coming up, so look for that.
Yeah, those are. I can't think of a podcast I have more fun doing.
Yeah, we
I
have a
love
blast.
hang out with your brother. You're the
Likewise.
best.
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Thank you. Love you, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
You want to wrestle?
Is this the Olympics?
No, just for fun.
Okay.
Two buddies.
Yeah, it's gonna work
We did
out.
just say we love each other.
Yeah.
Can we shut the cameras off at least?
Cut the cameras.